Hi, my name is Mino Wendt and I'm from DMME-Electronics, giving you a short demonstration of the DSP-1 digital signal processor or multi-effects pedal that I created for guitar or bass. I've been working on this project for the better part of 2025 and it's coming along fairly well. I'm currently offering these on my website in two colors. So if the white one is displayed on the screen and we have the black one with the cream knobs, which I very much like the look of. I also have the original prototype that I used, hand built, and I created all the digital signal processing algorithms and effects that are currently implemented. The software is still work in progress. I did release the pedal already because everything basically works and it sounds as intended. But I will be fine-tuning, optimizing, and maybe even adding more effects in the future. Okay, just as a quick demonstration, I've now moved to my rig where I have 7 of these pedals. We have a compressor, phaser, flanger, chorus, 2 delays, and a reverb, which is my standard configuration. Now, of course, I can switch between modes, I can switch between effects when I want, but this is basically how I use it generally. I'm turning them on and off via this looper switcher and a floor controller where we have some presets. But yeah, let's begin with just a simple, clean, minor compression, just to give you an idea of what this whole rig sounds like. So basically that's a compressor and a JCM 800 style preamp. Now if we move over to a little bit of phaser, for instance. Or a little flanger. Now one of the main things I use is the chorus, which I really like. So this is the triple chorus where we have a split between the left, center and the right channel. A little bit of reverb. Which can go quite far. And lastly, some delay. So this is the ping pong delay. And on the other side we will have the parallel delay where we have 2 independent delay channels. This effect has, as you can see, 4 knobs, 2 switches on either side of the display and a main foot switch. Going into the functionality, the main foot switch is obviously used to enable or disable the effect. The buttons on the side can be used to select the next or the previous effect. And the 4 buttons or the 4 knobs can be used to control all the parameters of each effect. There's no labels on the enclosure because each effect has a different function for the knobs. So if you want to see what the effects do, you can either read the manual or hit the left button and hold it, which will show, in this case, we have the gain, the level, the mid, and the mid frequency control. Most effects have more than 4 functions actually, or 4 parameters that we can control. Therefore, we can hold the right button, which will switch over the function of these lower 2 knobs. So if we go to the default mode, if we hold it down, you can see this is the mid and the mid frequency control. Then if we hold down the right button and we switch over, you can see that the mid changed into the bass and the frequency control changed into the treble. Now, if we want to access the tuner, which is also a function on this pedal, we hold down the main foot switch and we will enter the tuner mode. Currently it's just picking up some noise because nothing's connected, but it's a very capable tuner actually. I like it so much that currently this has replaced the Korg tuner that I used for many years, and I'm really satisfied with the performance. For the tuner there are a few controls. Most notably, we can completely cut off the level, or we can actually have some of the guitar signal go through while we are using the tuner. These two buttons can also be used to access other features of the effect. For instance, you will see that now we are in the overdrive mode and it's in the mythic voicing, which is kind of an homage to the Clone Centaur. If we double press the left button, we switch over to what I call vintage. It's basically a tube screamer, or into a clean, which is basically like an OD1. Then if we double press the right button, you will see this little M turning to a little S, indicating that with the S we have a stereo input. It's completely processed separately, the left and right channel on the stereo output. The output is always stereo, but we can also select the input to be mono. Mono meaning that whatever input we have here on the left channel will be copied over internally and processed. So when you, for instance, plug in your guitar, you want to go into a stereo setup, now we go from mono to stereo. If you already have a stereo effect in front of it, like a reverb or delay, you can retain that left and right channel separation and everything will be processed left and right independently. Both channels, of course, will implement the effect that we have here. Then there's another feature for these buttons, because, well, there's so many effects that we implemented. Each of them have a setting stored. So when we move this knob, currently we just moved over to a new effect. The actual setting that is used for processing here is 30%. Then if we move the knob past that 30%, it will pick up and we can actually change whatever value or setting we want to use. Then if we want to save whatever we just changed, we can hold down these two buttons and we have saved the setting. Now, just to show that as an example, now it was set to like 69 or something. We set it to 0. We've just enabled the effect. We will store those settings. Now they're saved. So the next time we boot up our pedal board or we turn on the effect, you will see that it retained whatever setting we just wrote to it. And now we're here at that 0% again. If you for some reason messed up your settings or you want to change back to whatever I decided was good enough when I released this, or when I released the software, you can turn off the pedal, hold down these two buttons again, turn it back on, and the default settings will be restored. Now, if you want to retain the default settings, you have to save again. This makes sure that if you just want to try out some of the default settings, but you don't want to mess up whatever you had stored already, just going to the default settings doesn't override the memory, and you can still go back to whatever you had just by powering it up again. Then for most of the effects we just have a single red LED indicating that it's on, but for all the effects that have some kind of timing, modulation, delay, you can see it blinks, which is nice. There's only one effect where we keep engaging that blinking, which is for the delay, which I personally really like for, well, knowing what is going on my pedal board. As you can see behind me, I have a bunch of them that I currently use. One caveat of this design: if you enable the delay, for instance, you hit your guitar or you strum your guitar and you immediately disable the delay, the repeats will continue. So you have the tails which will still be present in your signal. This means that even while the pedal is not engaged, your signal, your analog signal, is still being processed by this chip. If you want to know more about this pedal or you're interested in buying it, you can have a look on my website. It's DMME-Electronics.nl. And here you will find obviously a purchase link, but also the documentation for this pedal. If you go to the download page, you can find the user manual, the latest software with the release notes, and a little tool that will help you get started with programming it. On the project page, there's a bunch of projects that I'm working on, including the original open source code for the prototype, which includes actually a bunch of the effects that were implemented here, and a link to the development platform that I released for this hardware, where you can either build it on a breadboard yourself based on a very limited schematic, but it's there. Or you can purchase this hardware and you can start developing DSP algorithms yourself without the need to spin your own hardware and design your own PCB. I hope this is a good way to get started, because I really had a lot of fun building this, learning about DSP and making a lot of these algorithms for it. In the user manual, you will find obviously some of the basic specifications. So signal to noise ratio is pretty good. Dynamic range, I would say, is excellent. Very low total harmonic distortion, noise ratio, THD and noise. And one of the most important things to me, at least, was to have a very low latency. So we have 24-bit 48 kilohertz sampling, and we only have less than 2 milliseconds of total delay. So you can have basically 5 of these in series before you really start to notice, or you might notice, most people won't, that there's some processing going on there. In the user manual, you will also find a list of all the effects that we have implemented. So we have the cabinet simulation, which is a filter-based estimation of a guitar speaker, the chorus, compressor, delay, overdrive, distortion, equalizer, flanger, fuzz, phaser, preamplifier, reverb, tremolo, and vibrato. And you will see most of these also have different modes implemented. So these are either different LFO settings, where we have a stereo or a mono version, different feedback settings for the delay path, or different voicings for the overdrive, distortion, and the fuzz, for instance. The preamplifier is kind of special because it really emulates the inner workings of a guitar amplifier. I come from a background building guitar tube amplifiers, and it wasn't really my intention to build a tube amp modeler, but it was really fun to implement it, and actually it sounds quite well. So it actually emulates the transfer curve, even the power supply sag and the compression of real tubes. Which was also one of the reasons that this is one of the only effects in this pedal that cannot be processed in stereo, just because it's quite intensive. Please note that I don't own all these pedals, I don't own all these amplifiers, so this is really just an estimation of what I know they would sound like, and my best attempt at recreating that inside this little pedal. On the other side here, we also have a full list of all the effects and all the controls. So the different banks I told you about, where we have 4 of the knobs, and then 2 of the knobs, C and D, which are indicated here as well, C and D, which will change their function based on whatever menu you're in. And just for a bit of fun, And of course we can turn on everything all together. So as mentioned, I will do a more in-depth review demonstration of all the individual effects, all their sounds, all their voices. But for now I thought just to do a quick demo, just to get it out there. You know, this is how I use it. This is the sound I like. So yeah.